So here is the first letter of 2026, and it says, "Dear Patched, I am addicted to buying clothes. Please help. I really feel like this is an addiction, though I feel lousy using the word addiction as I'm talking about clothes. I wanted 2026 to be different. I know I do not need any more new clothes, but I'm only a few days into 2026 and already I feel overwhelmed. The 2026 trend videos have started. I'm watching them. I'm envious of people's stuff that I see online. I'm distracted and my fingers are itching to go online and buy stuff. Please, can you help me figure this out? Also, the world is scaring me, which is not an excuse as I shop when nothing is also going on, but it's not helping." And it says, "Thank you from Anon." Thank you very much for your letter and for your honesty as well. Similarly to alcohol, consumption gets trivialized by society and being a shopaholic is dismissed as being a joke. But as your letter outlines, being compelled to shop is neither trivial nor pleasurable. Now, I really appreciate your discomfort with using the word addiction when it comes to shopping. It is worth knowing that there is a recognized condition known as oniomania, which is the obsessive urge to buy things. And if you or anyone else who watches this thinks that's them, then definitely find a doctor or a qualified therapist to talk with. I personally am an author sharing friendly advice. I am not a therapist, so I'm going to use the word compulsion instead of addiction to explore how fashion is so intertwined with capitalism. Now, the first thing that needs to be crystal clear is that being compelled to shop is not a personal failing. It doesn't make you weak or bad or mean that you don't care about garment workers or the planet. Fashion is a trillion-dollar industry that pours billions of dollars into psychologists, creatives, and tech workers who are trained in behavior modification. It is not your fault that you feel overwhelmed. Remember that the fashion industry works relentlessly to drag us into shops and websites, to keep us permanently dissatisfied and on edge, to bombard our brains with the message that the beautiful things that we already have are not beautiful anymore and that we are stupid and wrong for thinking that they are. So how do we get out? How does Anon get out of this situation? Well, the number one thing I want to talk about is habits. Having habits is a key part of what makes us human. Habits are these automatic behaviors that we don't think much about. Some habits are good for us, like locking the door or staying hydrated. Some habits, however, are really unhelpful. And it's vital to recognize that fashion is designed to be habit forming. The habit of adding to your wardrobe used to be seasonal, but now we're pushed to shop basically every single day. And the act of buying clothes can become associated with a positive effect, a little rush of hope for the future, perhaps. And because that rush of hope is what we're looking for, especially given the state of geopolitics and the fact that the world is scary, we do the action that gave us that feeling again and again and again. And then, because we are doing it a lot, we start to get prompted to do it by outside factors that have nothing to do with fashion. So, for example, getting on the bus becomes associated in our brains with reaching for our phone to scroll through Instagram. Or taking a walk at lunch becomes associated with visiting a particular shop. Or the smell of dinner becomes associated with shopping on Depop. When we then try to step away from that habit, we get what Anon described as itchy fingers. And the world that we are in becomes secondary to the craving to do the habit, in this case, to shop. And it's really interesting, if you read up on habits as associated with compulsions or addiction indeed, you will find loads of good advice on replacing old habits with new ones. It's not enough to just stop the old habit. You need to fill the gap with something more interesting, which is why I'm not just going to say, well, just stop shopping. It's obvious. Have some willpower. Now, I don't know when the habit of shopping is striking for you, Anon, but start to recognize it and notice it and then think about all the other positive or exciting things you could do instead. First up, of course, I'm going to say, join a fashion activist group and change the entire fashion system. Or you could try sketching, reading, films, walks, sports clubs, sociable dinners, either in or out, crafting, phone calls with friends, volunteering, gardening, writing letters to political prisoners. If you're a nerd like me, you can actually get dopamine by learning and pondering new things. So write down how you are feeling when you feel most compelled to shop. And then figure out, is there a pattern with your hormones? Is it after you watch the news and get scared? Is it after you've been on YouTube or Instagram and watched these 2026 trend videos? Is there someone or something in your life making you feel inadequate? Then, if there are patterns, you can take steps to deal with what is underneath the compulsion. And definitely try and stay away from triggers. So if YouTube or Instagram is making you feel discontent or like itchy to shop, then unsubscribe from those channels and delete your YouTube as well if necessary. The great news is that the brain is adaptive and neuroplasticity is your friend. You can form new habits. And of course, don't hesitate to get support if you need it, either from your peers, from websites, or from professionals. The second thing I want to talk about is goals. So part of forming new habits is setting realistic goals. Decide what it is you want and write it down. I felt like you hinted at wanting to stop shopping altogether, but maybe never buying any clothes ever again sounds too scary. So set a goal that is healthy and realistic, something like one purchase a month to start with. But do not, however, beat yourself up if you don't make your goal. Also, make sure to add in positive goals that make you feel good. For example, I will mend all of my clothes and shoes that need a little TLC, or I'll take them to someone who can fix them. I will learn to knit. I will spend a day putting together outfits from what I already have. I will put all of my saved fashion money in a pot and send it to Palestinian families at the end of the month. The third thing I want to talk about is some really important questions you can ask yourself in order to interrupt the urge to shop. Question number 1, who actually wants this? When the familiar narrative of "I want that" starts up in your head, can you take a moment to think about who the author of that want actually is? What I mean is, can you bring capitalism into focus? Can you take a moment to remember the sheer amount of corporate power being focused on your brain and think, hey, I might want to stick 2 fingers up at the tech bros and disobey this urge? Ultimately, it's capitalism that wants this, not you. Disobeying and then using that time and space for something you choose is its own cheeky thrill. Rebel because you're worth it. Question number 2 is, who am I really giving money to? Similarly, the ultimate answer to who wants this is the billionaire who owns the brand that you are shopping from. For example, the repulsive characters of Amancio Ortega, who owns Zara, or Jeff Bezos over at Amazon. These guys do not need any more money, and they will likely do more terrible things to people and planet if you give it to them. Dig into the corporations behind the clothes by reading books and doing research, and see if that will turn you off buying from them. But, brackets, this is not a free pass for going and buying secondhand or from ethical brands. Number 3 is, do I have this already? And you've got to be really honest with yourself, because we repeat buy. It's a fact. This Christmas, an article on a fashion website made me think that I wanted a new hoodie. Now, I knew in my heart of hearts that this was a midwinter impulse, so I got myself to write down a list of all the hoodies that I already own. When confronted with the facts in writing, I didn't buy a new hoodie because I already own 7 hoodies. You can take this further and expand into the positive memories of the things that you have, like your 7 hoodies that you've bought over the last 20 years, and reconnect with them. The fashion industry is designed to be deeply compelling, to manipulate us into ignoring the wonder of what we have. into forgetting the stunning beauty of the planet we live on, into losing our place as active human beings who can move and dance and laugh and fight for what we truly want and need. I want you to remember that it's neither your fault nor hopeless. You can take steps to build new habits and a more fulfilling world for yourself and for those around you. Sending you solidarity, Tansy.